Welcome to Season 5 of the Long-Winded One podcast. Listen as we showcase original work from top Royal Road authors read by professional voice actors. Hear interviews from your favourite lit RPG and game lit authors. Lastly, listen as the Long-Winded One tries his hand at his first ever lit RPG novel, The Four Treasures.
Well, welcome everybody to another edition of the Long-Winded One podcast. With me tonight, I have a Royal Road author who goes by DreamTickler, but we can call him Omar. So Omar, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So you have a very large following for one of your stories called Apocalypse, Reborn as a Monster, which we're going to hear in the next episode. And on Royal Road, you have almost 3 million views and just over 7,000 followers. So we're feeling very honored to have you here tonight to talk about what inspired you to become a writer and to tell us a little bit about your story. So let's get right into this. The first question is about you, right? So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, maybe, and what has influenced you to become a writer.
Okay, so I'm from Morocco, this little country north of Africa. And since I can remember, I've been reading like novels or watching anime or reading manga. I think like my first novels I read were in Arabic when I was like 6 or 7. And I've kept reading those novels until I was around 14, and that's when I got into actual like English novels. Actually, first of all, it wasn't English novels. I wouldn't call them English novels. It was English translations of light novels, Japanese light novels, and I've been reading those for a long time. So like those definitely had shaped my way of thinking, at least about storylines, certainly about characters and character motivations, because Japanese novels have like these very interesting ways of looking at character motivation. After that, I think I found this website called Japtem, and from Japtem I found Royal Road. And in Royal Road, I was reading at first. What's his name? Legendary Moonlight Sculpture, when it was a translation website. Yeah, and then I found this original tab there, at the top, and I was like, "What's that?" And I clicked on it, and then I found like 50 novels. At that point, there were just like 50 novels from original authors. Most of them had like one chapter or two chapters, but some of them had like a decent amount of chapters. So after reading those, I was like, maybe I can give it a try. Maybe I can also try and write something for my own. So I gave it a try at that point. I think it was 2014. On not in the DreamTickler account. This is my second account actually. My first account is yours. On that account, I tried my hand at it. I wrote a couple of, I wouldn't call them novels, couple attempts at novels, just 5 chapters, and then I'm like just stuck and not know what to write, and then I would just scrap the idea, and then it'd come back like 2 months later with another idea, and then get a little bit further in my writing journey, and then scrap it, and then come back, and then scrap it, and then come back. I think like I went through so many ideas before I like reached a novel that I wanted to actually turn into a proper book. And the first one was Ashes of Gods, which is not in this account. It's still in the older account. That's the first novel that I actually finished a full book of, like 100,000 words. So that was a nice achievement. Finally, I finished a book and not just dropped it. So that was certainly a confidence boost. But then again, I was also working on my bachelor, and I almost finished my bachelor at that point. So focused back on studies, and then I started my master's. And then when I was almost done with my master, that's when I returned to Royal Road. This time under another alias of DreamTickler. At that point, I tried my hand with like the first story, Storm of Outlaws. It did decent. It's reached like 1,000 followers, but I was at this point, I was thinking about actually turning into a pro writer, and 1,000 followers just was not enough. to become a pro writer. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try my hand at something else at the same time in doing it at the side. And that's when I tried Apocalypse Reborn as a monster. And in just 15 days, I went past the follower count of Storm of Outlaws that I had been working on at that point in 6 months. So in just 15 days, I was able to reach past 1,000 followers, and then just went on crazy. By the time I finished my Rising Star run, I think I was around 4,000 followers. At that point, I was like, okay, well, this is the one. This is the one I should actually give all of my attention and focus to, and that's how what I've been doing.
I have a lot of questions from what you just said, but I will say that Reborn as a Monster starts off with a bang. Was this the part that we're going to hear in the next episode? Is that chapter 1? Is that where we start the story, where we
Yes.
meet? So that really starts off with a bang. So I can see why it kind of just took off. Why DreamTickler? How did you pick that name?
I think it was just like a meme in some Discord channel where everyone was just doing like these weird two-part names, and they were just memes. And I was like, okay, so Dream Tickler, and it was kind of like my meme name in that Discord server. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna make it into my actual author name.
We have interviewed people in other parts of the world, but kind of accidentally, I've ended up interviewing a lot of people from the United States. I'm curious, in Morocco, are there a lot of folks who read manga and read those Japanese light novels? Is there a big kind of subculture of people who are into that kind of literature?
I would say a lot of people watch anime in Morocco. A decent amount to read manga. For light novels, I would say I've seen like two people in my whole life that actually read the light novels. Especially like not even just Japanese light novels, but Korean light novels. Probably just two people.
Well, then how did you get into it?
Yeah, I would consider myself an internet denizen more than a Moroccan because I just spent so much time in the internet. I don't think that me being Moroccan actually hampered my chances. I was just part of the culture of manga, which kind of like led to the culture of light novel.
Well, so you said one other thing that I'm curious about. So you said you were working on your master's. Do you mind if we ask what was your master's in?
Oh yeah, my bachelor was in computer science and my master was in big data analytics, but mostly in a focus of machine learning. That's yeah, it's completely different from what you would expect from a writer, but yeah, like that's the path that I took.
It's actually not as surprising as you might think. Were there other lit RPG and game lit authors that are like your favorites?
I would say Monsoon, the guy that wrote the New World, just in writing style actually, not even in the systems, but also Legend of Randy Ghost Sound. That one is. I think anyone who have been part of Royal Road has been inspired by that story at some point. There's also Change New World, which I believe is the first system apocalypse story. By system apocalypse, I mean like a story where the real world turns into a video game. The other big inspiration that I had is, at least in terms of system design, is Doomsday Lord. It's not a Royal Road novel; it's a Korean novel. No, it's a Chinese novel, and basically I took inspiration in their from their kingdom building system. It's like this kind of Clash of Clans type of system, and I really liked that. I was like, that's not used that much in Royal Road, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use that. That's like a very interesting idea to a very interesting twist to an already existing system.
So I have a question about these system apocalypse stories that you mentioned. Is that why at the beginning of Reborn as a Monster, the first part of the title is called Apocalypse Reborn as a Monster?
Yeah, because it kind of refers to the system apocalypse genre.
So tell us about your experience on Royal Road so far.
It's been amazing, man. Like Royal Road readers are actually pretty good, especially right now. After I've become decently popular. When I release a chapter, I can see like at least 20 comments that are actually interested in the story and like actually talk about like the events that are happening there, and just seeing people that interested in like these scenes that I created and be like moved by them. That's more than I could ever ask for, man. That's like the best gift that you could give to a writer. So just the fact that Royal Road allows for this kind of interaction is amazing. I love Roller.
Are there other places that you interact with fans? You mentioned specifically Royal Road has been positive. Are there other places where you have work or where maybe Discord or Patreon where you interact with fans?
Oh yeah, of course. I have a Patreon, decently successful, I guess, that is linked to my Discord, and there I can talk. I usually talk with my Patreon subscribers. We get to talk about like all the kind of ideas. Sometimes they give suggestions, sometimes they take them, sometimes I don't take them. So it's always interesting. It's always nice.
I've noticed a trend, and my listeners have heard me say this before, but I've noticed a trend of people who write on Royal Road, and once they build up a following, they tend to create a Patreon page. And those Patreon pages, I've heard authors say different things. Some people say, I use it as justification for spending so much time writing every day because most of these people have day jobs. And some people I find maybe they fit into that category and maybe they don't. Maybe they use that Patreon money to produce their, to self-publish or to hire a narrator for an audiobook. What do you use your Patreon for?
I use my Patreon for two things: live-in and ads. Because my philosophy about it is, as long as I keep growing my Royal Road following, then my Patreon following is gonna grow also. So I just use that money that I get from Patreon either on just living expenses, rent, food, or in ads. Just keep growing the machine of my Royal Road following. Just keep growing it.
So you mentioned ads. Now, I had a very lengthy conversation with another Royal Road author about ads and the importance of ads. And I'm hoping this comes up in your answer to my next question. And the question is about advice for aspiring writers.
I guess it would depends on what your definition of a new author is. If we go back to like just complete beginner, just completely just this is the first time that they know about something called Royal Road. I would say first of all just read a lot of stories, man. Just read a lot of stories so that you understand the what people want. If you don't read what people read, you live in two different dimensions with the reader. You're not in the same dimension. So the first advice is just read a lot of stories in Royal Road, especially bigger ones, so that you understand kind of the general idea of what works. After that, of course, technical, just hone your craft, become better at scene writing, become better at foreshadowing, become better at storytelling in all of its forms. Now that you've done all of that, let's talk about actually minimaxing your let's say your debut novel. And if I had to give you like the blueprint, first of all, probably you should try and grow a network of authors. Try to join some Discord servers with other authors for one reason and one reason only: for shoutout swaps. You would want some shoutout swaps at least in at the start of you releasing the novel, because every bit of growth helps at that point for Rising Stars. So just grow your network for shoutout swaps. Release 10 chapters the first day, release 2 chapters a day for 2 weeks. Have an ad running the moment that you enter Rising Star so that you can reach front page, and just keep experimenting with covers, keep experimenting with the subtitles. Maybe change your subtitle a little bit, maybe change your cover, maybe change your blurb. Just do whatever it takes so that your first 30 days are as good as possible, so that you can reach front page Rising Stars, so that you can get like the 2,000 followers or 3,000 followers that you need to make it into an actual livable, to have some livable wage with Patreon. And after that, it's just about continuously writing new chapters and having ads running at the same time, so that you can continuously get more readers, even though right now you're no longer in Rising Stars or Popular This Week, because maybe Popular This Week you need more chapters so that you can get more daily views. But after Rising Stars, you're in this weird spot where you just kind of have to keep judging along, just keep putting in some ads so that you can get some more eyeballs into your story, and just keep writing the chapters. After that, once you reach like chapter 200, then you can go for popular this week, and then that's your next avenue of growth.
I'm noticing a little bit of your background coming into play here, your analytical mind. Do you spend a lot of time, thinking about this and talking with other authors about how to maximize your viewership?
Yeah, of course. I try to, like, of course, trying to min max whatever I can min max, whether it's be just ads, CTR for ads, just like find the best ads that work, or for like a new novel, maybe like just find like what actually are the best subgenres to write in. I actually had I scrapped the website at some point just to get like all of the information about all of the novels and see which tags are actually the most popular, and which tag combinations is also the most popular. And I had like this information also all written down just so that I can actually just min max my start as much as possible.
That's a great idea. Yeah. I wonder how many people actually do that in the beginning. I think probably a lot of people who put their stories up don't realize that there's a science to it.
Yeah, there's always a science to it. I mean, some people just have it. Like you just have like that spark of being able to write whatever and just getting 10,000 followers. I don't have that. So I can't like just assume that I'm gonna just write whatever and it's gonna get 10,000 followers. I have to like keep putting in as much work and just putting all the odds in my favor.
So we're going to hear, sounds like the first chapter of Apocalypse Reborn as a Monster from the narrator B.D. Cook, who has a very interesting voice.
I love it.
Can you set the scene for us? What are we coming into in this scene?
The Torian, the main character, is basically trying to is raising raised his army and is going to fight at the capital city because he's basically doing a revolution. And just as he's about to like finish this final battle, where all the odds are in his favor, he gets betrayed by his most loyal subordinates.
Okay. And so I don't think we're giving anything away by saying that he's betrayed, but he doesn't die, right? He's reborn as a monster. The title tells us that.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Okay, and if they go to your royal road, they can find out even a little bit more. Transformed into a weak, white-furred creature called a white kobold. May I ask where you got that idea?
At first, I wasn't even thinking about actually like putting that first chapter there. I was thinking about just starting the story as him being the White Kobold. A friend of mine called Flossie Dune that actually told me to write in this first chapter, and shout out to him. He actually worked really well. But this idea of reborn as a monster, it's it's been there for like a long time. The first time I've seen that is in Remonster, this manga, where the main character is reincarnated as a goblin, and I kind of like that manga, especially like the evolution aspects of it. So that always was in my mind. There's also Salvos, that is kind of in the same vein. It has a webtoon right now. It's pretty big in Royal Road. It has like I think like 13,000 followers. So yeah, those are the two biggest inspiration for that idea of reincarnation as a monster.
Spoilers, although it's not really a spoiler, you have a note here on your Royal Road page that says the main character will become quite overpowered. So if you don't like that, this story isn't for you.
Yes, try to be clear. Especially for the first few chapters, some people are expecting like him to go like through this insane. It's just a feel good story of someone just beating stuff up and leveling up. That's like the first part of it. Afterwards, it's kind of like grips you with some other plot points, but like the meat and potatoes of the story is just beat stuff up, level up.
It's a lit RPG, right? I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
it's a progression fantasy.
That's the idea, yeah.
Well, Omar, tell us where we can find you online.
Right now, I don't have like some big social for like Twitter or something like that, but you can find me at Royal Road. That's my main place at royalroad.com, and you can search for Apocalypse Reborn as a Monster. And for Patreon at patreon.com/DreamTickler.
Well, Omar, thank you so much for coming and thank you for sharing your story with us. It's a really fun first chapter and I hope people enjoy it.
I hope so too, man. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us down this lit RPG deep dive. please consider giving us a review on Apple Podcasts and visit us over at longwinded.one, where you can see past episodes and find all of our socials, even our new Discord server. We hope you enjoy.